I said early on that Joe Milton shouldn't throw at the combine because he's not comfortable and familiar with those surroundings. Yet he did. What did you think of the decision, Caleb, and what did you think of his performance?
Well, as somebody who watched him and you had all year, just from an objective eye, I thought his performance and actual necessary throws you need to make was mediocre. But I also think that because of his massive arm strength and because of what scouts fall in love with, he didn't do enough in terms of poor throwing to scouts were looking for a reason to like him. And he didn't do enough to detract from that reason to like him. And that's why I look back and I think it was smart for him to throw, because had he not thrown, it would have raised more questions. So he's the type of player that you look for a reason to like because you're so in love with the arm strength.
Okay, you made me second guess myself. I still wouldn't have him throw, but I at least understand your point. I wouldn't have had him throw there at the combine. Could it raise red flags? Yes, but my plan would be to answer all of those questions at a pro day when you're throwing a Jacob Warren and other guys or Mel Keaton that you're comfortable with. Then you need to throw zero incomplete passes. He threw a couple of incomplete passes in the drills yesterday, but also I thought there were some receivers that adjusted for him and rounded off routes and had a catch outside their normal catch window. I didn't think he had a very good day. I know people on the message board are going to rip me. I think that he did enough that he's going to get drafted. I don't doubt that. Just this comparison of Anthony Richardson slipping into the first round out of Florida, that's not going to happen, Caleb.
Yeah, and just quick heads up, it wasn't yesterday, it was over the weekend. I know that's what you meant, but I don't want anybody confused that he did anything different. But there's one. Anthony Richardson was a more fluid runner, and the thing was, this was Joe Milton's mistake at Tennessee. He should have run more, because the truth of the matter is his running would have actually probably helped his stock, and it would have helped Tennessee more had he done that.
I don't think he wants to run more.
But he can't be a pure pocket passer.
Yeah, I don't think he can be a pure pocket passer.
I mean,
he can be an NFL quarterback.
But like, if you have your leg,
I don't think he wants it enough.
Put it this way.
But wait, listen to what I just said there. I don't think he wants it enough. I don't think he ever wanted it enough.
That's an bold statement, Dave.
Okay, and I want you to react to it. Portions of the program brought to you by Don Self. Customer service still matters. For 40 years, they have built their business on taking care of their customers in the greater Chattanooga area. Call 423-396-2126, 423-396-2126, or go donself.net, donself.net. I'll tell you what I'm not going to do. If I have pride in my game, is I'm not going to let a coach come to me and tell me in early December that I'm not the guy in the bowl game, that it's going to be the highly touted freshman. I'm not just going to sit there and take that. I'm going to announce that I'm foregoing my final game so it doesn't look bad on me. I'm also not going to let my dad post on our YouTube message board about how Joe Milton doesn't have enough weapons around him. Listen, this whole thing wasn't undermined by his physical ability. It was undermined by his approach to the game and his lack of processing speed, which arguably could be attributable to what I first said. And that is, I don't know that he wants it enough. And that's fine. He's probably made enough money. He's probably made life-changing money just from Tennessee already. That's how things are different. But Caleb, I want your response, because I don't make statements about effort and work ethic very often. When I do, I hope you realize I'm not just throwing stuff out there. I just don't think he wants it bad enough.
So is this based on things you've heard close to campus?
Yes. Very different bird. The whole way the bowl game thing was not handled well from his perspective. By a lot of people on campus, they thought that, in administrative roles.
Well, I will tell you this about Joe Milton, and something that bolsters your argument. We both heard reports that when Nico Iamaleava arrived last year, Joe Milton got kicked into high gear and got really refocused to hold on to his starting job. That was kind of a red flag to me then, because I was like, why weren't you already focused after you lost your starting job to Hendon Hooker? Right? So, I mean,
I thought the same thing.
yeah. So that totally threw me off. And that, like, I'm just wondering, like, what could Joe Milton have? Why did it take this much for Joe Milton to get kicked into high gear? And look, maybe it's I want to be fair. Some people have a laid back personality, so we don't know if they wanted a lot enough or not.
Elias says, I just think Joe is a bit happy-go-lucky and laid back. Yes, that's what you're about to say. I think there's some truth to that. I don't think Peyton Manning is happy-go-lucky. I want the guy that's mad go unlucky. You know, I want the guy who's driven. I don't want the guy who's saying everything's just going to work out.
But sometimes that has, okay, look, now these aren't the best quarterbacks usually, but you and I both know one of the things that helped the 98 team with Tennessee was that Peyton Manning wasn't riding everybody so hard every play. I think T. Martin was kind of T. Martin was still a leader, right? He's still, like, they still rallied around him, but he did it in a different way. Like, he was very much like almost Fulmer-esque, I'll clap for you if you make a mistake, things like that. Is that fair to say? That T. Martin?
Yeah, but I don't think that team lacked for tough leadership at any level. Do you?
No, but I mean, it was the change from Peyton to T. Martin had to be a pretty big, significant one. And I think that, I don't think that meant T. Martin didn't want it enough. Do you? Did you think T. Martin didn't want it that much?
No, and I think people got yelled at plenty at that team, but it was just probably by the defensive players more than the offensive players.
Okay. Because I think of that, and maybe that is when you're a defensive-driven team, you want your quarterback laid back. And since if you're Heupel's offense, if you're Josh Heupel's team, you can't have your quarterback be laid back. He's got to be like to grab the team by their throat and go. And maybe that's a fair point to make. But I just sometimes think we mistake laid back for lack of care, and they're not always the same thing. It's possible he doesn't want it.
But don't you want your quarterback? I'm okay if my running back's kind of a go with the flow cat, but I don't want my quarterback to be a go with the flow cat. Do you?
I mean, but again, but T. Martin was.
To some extent. I think he was probably, he's a coach now, so isn't he a little fierier than you're giving him credit for?
Well, I think he's I think he's got that Dungy coaching mentality. You know what I mean? That Tony Dungy coaching mentality. And like, I feel like I never thought Joe Milton wasn't a leader of the offense. Did you not think he was kind of a leader of the offense last year? I thought he still did lead the offense in a lot of ways.
I thought he looked lost. I think you're being incredibly kind.
I think that's just him. I just think some people can't.
Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the jack.
I think that's just his makeup that he, like you just said, he doesn't process quickly. By the way, I want people to be clear. That does not make someone smart or not smart. Okay. Some people who can be very smart just need a little time to process. It's the guy that can figure out the same math problem, but he has to write it out as opposed to the one who does it in his head.
Okay. Let me ask you this then. And it's brought to you by Sports Treasures. Did Joe Milton help himself by coming back for another year at Tennessee? Now, Travis is giving me a hard time. He's 8-4, almost beat Alabama, put some respect next to his name. Well, to me, that's baseline from now on, and it was baseline last year. So I'll give you respect for his name, but that's not good enough. That's nothing to brag about with where Tennessee's program should have been. They underachieved last year, period, end of discussion. Question I want to ask you, brought to you by Sports Treasures, Caleb, is just this. Did Joe Milton help himself by coming back and playing another year of college football? Would he have been the same prospect at the NFL Combine, the same prospect with the high upside, the same prospect who's been a little bit raw in 2023 as opposed to 2024? Sports Treasures, carrying over 5 million sports treasures and so much more. Follow on Facebook for the best sports memorabilia daily updates. Again, follow on Facebook, Sports Treasures TN. That's Sports Treasures TN. Caleb? Would Joe Milton have been any different of a prospect a year ago?
I know, because the same drawbacks. The problem with Joe Milton is Joe Milton didn't alleviate any of the drawbacks for him when he played. Those drawbacks were there last year, and he would have still been there. So I think he was a better prospect last year because we thought it was possible that those drawbacks were no longer there. They're still there. So in that regard, you are right. he's a better NFL prospect. But there'd be so many red flags if he had come out last year after just playing in the Orange Bowl.
True. And the other thing that speaks to your point, he probably wouldn't have gotten invited to the combine.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
My argument is that he could do everything at pro day and throw better at a pro day than in Indianapolis. I wouldn't have had him throw, but that's
but there is so much more pressure. You like you said, you can't help yourself at a pro day. You can only hurt yourself at a pro day as a quarterback.
I want to give Travis a final say on this. It was baseline, still best quarterback since Dobbs, and actually quite comparable to Dobbs.
He's trolling.
No, I don't think he is. No, I don't think that. I think that's very fair. I don't think that's
over trolling. Hooker, over Hendon Hooker.
Still best quarterback since Dobbs. I think he was referring to not Hendon Hooker. That was my assumption. Definitely Hendon Hooker's better than Dobbs.
I mean, definitely Hendon Hooker's better than Milton.
I guess I thought we were going back pre-Hypel.
Yeah, Travis, you said best QB since Dobbs. And I'm like, so you're saying that Joe was better than Hendon Hooker?
No, I'm sorry. I thought we were going not Hendon Hooker. Okay, Travis clarified.
Okay, I thought you were hanging out with Sark at a bar.
It's 5:00 somewhere. We appreciate the clarification.